but it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to differentiate between the being emasculated and being evolved. All right. I want to thank y'all for joining us on our Have a Drink podcast. Gentlemen, if you will, please present your drinks and we'll sound off. I will unmute everybody with a lickety split. Go ahead.
Look at Eddie.
Hey, what was you drinking?
What y'all drinking?
Called Riscotto.
Oh, okay. I see.
Okay. All right.
Tecate con karate.
Tecate. All right. I'm drinking. I'm getting white girl wasted with some White Claw. Cranberry, sipping on some cranberry. Did you throw some vodka in there?
Nah, man. Just straight cranberry. We're sober. Quarantine while sober.
Quarantine
okay.
while sober.
So no Sprite in there is what you're saying.
Yeah. I didn't get the.
Gotta cut the sugar in half.
That ain't that Safeway. I've been looking.
All right, gentlemen. So, quick question: did anybody take a look at the post I sent them? It was a series series of tweets.
Yes.
No.
So,
Right.
no. All right, then. Real quick, let me do this. I'm gonna switch faces from.
Hold on. Did you send it today?
Yeah, I sent it today. It was above Joe and I's transaction.
Black and masculine.
Yes. Read that. Did you read it anyway? Just read it out so everybody sees what we're talking about. Go for it. You got a great reading voice.
My grandfather told me a story as a child about the difference between a bull and a steer in comparison to a man and a physically mature male. Oh yeah, I already know about this. I'm glad for this conversation. He said to me that not all man children grow up to become men, that although physically and outwardly appearing as the same like the bull and steer, internally there is a difference. You see, to make a steer, you castrate a young male cow, remove his balls for two reasons: temperament, taste, or toughness. Steer meat is going to have less hormone like testosterone, and thus makes the meat more tender. A steer will also be more docile and agreeable than a bull. Young men, black men in particular, are socialized to be less dominant, lest they be viewed as threatening. They are mentally and emotionally turned into steers while existing in the body of an adult male. This is especially true in corporate environments. Hence, because any expression of self-determination or dominance is viewed as threatening, they are often made examples of publicly to discourage this behavior in others. This is a form of buck breaking coming out of slavery. As physically mature males, these mentally, emotionally castrated men can still produce offspring, but guess what? What they're going to teach them, how to be a good steer. This is why mentoring and strong relationships with men is important for young men. Young men need to learn how to express their dominance constructively, how to navigate the hormones and drive out that create or destroy like sex and hunger, not how to deny it or suppress it. They need to learn how to strategize and rule on the board and off chess reference. As a physically, mentally, and spiritually mature man, I have an obligation to lead by example and help produce more men by standing by my principles and ethics while also persevering my existence on this planet by learning to play the game. My grandfather maintained that a man controls his environment, and furthermore, that a boy asks for what he wants, a man takes it. Not a reference to sex or rape. I was like, that's a little bit questionable. But yeah.
Right? I came across this post. And as I was reading it and I was swiping through, I mean, obviously the point of certain posts and things are to kind of like, stir up emotions and feelings and have a reaction out of it. But I found I was really upset by it because I hear these things be thrown out in different ways. I grew up raised by all women, and someone said like there's a pussification happening in America, and it's like it's not something I just heard on TV. Like it was on TV, but my cousin has also said it. Like a man of color, has also said there's like a pussification of America. There's a pussification of black men that is happening right now. He's like, I'm not gonna partake in that. They want, and it appertains to the LGBTQ community and how he felt it was being pushed on him. But aside from that, like it's looked at as weak to look at your individual as a partner, not be as threatening, to learn how to control your strength, your testosterone, and etc. And so I don't know. I just thought it would be fun to stir up this conversation and see how you guys feel hearing that. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it?
So the whole topic of making us feel not like men, I think that's been going on even before LGBTQ was even a thing. Like I remember hearing stories about my father. It's an insult to call one of our parents boy. I'm like,
Yes.
it's probably not a big deal to us, but to them, it's a big deal. Like I've seen.
It's a deal to me too.
Yeah, well, but
To
you're
them,
right.
of
It
course.
is a big deal, but to them, those are fighting words on the spot.
Right.
And I think that's part of it. Not necessarily. I mean, I think it has stuff to do. Sexuality does relate to it, but I think the overall target for that whole topic is to make you feel like you are not what a man is supposed to be. In some cases, a stereotypical man. Some people think being a man is being tough and not smiling and not joking and not being loving or having any softness about you. I mean, I don't agree with that. But, I think that's what it's aimed toward.
I find that to be a very, very fair statement, and I agree. I figure, and what I want to add to that is, if you look at time, look at how the man, or even let's just say, because we're all this, black males, black fathers, or prominent black men in the Bay Area. If you look over time, they have all gotten softer in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at your great grandfather and you listen to the stories that your grandparents talked about their father, how did he sound? And then you talk about how did your parents sound about their father? And then you look at yourself and you talk about your father. And then you look at your children and how do you feel that your children are going to see you? Everything has been a little bit softer, a little bit more understood because times have changed. But the thing is when you look at the black man, he has always had to fight for everything just to be seen, understood, heard, or accepted. So now when you see the rest of the world showing us to be less than, he feels like he is being demasculated, right? Demasculated?
Yeah.
Emasculated. Thank you. Emasculated. Thank you. And so, and I say that when we look back at like film, for instance, right? What was the big thing that was talked about quite a few years ago? Comedians, black men being in dresses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And everybody's talking about how Tyler Perry's doing it, but then it's like, well, before Tyler Perry, who was in a dress?
Eddie Murphy.
Before Eddie Murphy, who was in a dress?
Wasn't Richard Pryor in one at one point?
I'm not sure, but I'll tell you Flip Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Right? So to see that now, the differences and everything has changed and all of that, right? But they always talked about the respect and how we are seen. And when you are seeing all these strong, positive black men in dresses, how does it look in the rest of the society? So that's kind of where that is. And that's what I feel, is people are so worried about us we've already been taken down and not known as kings. So now we're going to lose the men and be looking at all of our men as less than, as women, or as other, no longer men.
Right.
Mm.
But if you bring up like situations like Eddie Murphy or Tyler Perry, any of them, I mean, they're doing that. They're playing characters. They're doing that on purpose. I think that post is directly talking about somebody else taking the initiative to make you feel less of a man. Because
well, you're right. You're right.
Because
wait, hold on. Eddie Murphy was already established, but that was the only way Tyler Perry could get into Hollywood is by dressing up as a woman.
Martin Lawrence also did it.
Martin Lawrence too, but he was already established.
Right.
Yeah.
So
right.
For Tyler Perry, who was the latest to come into Hollywood as a male actor, as a black male actor, he had to go through that route, which says what about Hollywood for black men? If you're not
was it more so their come up that dressing in drag or dressing in a dress was their big break, but it was said, or kind of the air was that it was required to continue. If you want to keep rising as a star, as a black man in Hollywood, you need to put on this dress. You're getting way too much fame now. If you want to continue, you want to do this, you want to make this kind of money, put on this dress. And that was the air coming from, I believe, that kind of like conversation that was being had all about the movies that were coming out. You know, Big Mama's House, Tyler Perry, you know, everybody that wore a dress. Like,
but people like Tyler Perry, he created Medea. There wasn't some other writer or producer that came up with that. That was his idea.
Right.
Now, Martin Lawrence, okay, maybe somebody said, hey, you need to do this if you want your career to go in this direction, but I don't think that applies to everybody. And then look at all the actors that have come in around that time that haven't worn dresses.
Will Smith, it's mainly comedians though. Like, if you notice, it's mainly just comedians, black comedians. If we're talking about the people who will put on a dress, and I feel like any comedian should be willing to do anything to get a laugh. Like that's where that like comes from. Yeah, that's where that comes from.
Except one, and he was an ugly woman. Eddie, you know who I'm talking about. Who was the one black action star who dressed up as a woman? Noxeema Jackson. That was the character's name.
Noxeema Jackson.
Wesley Snipes in Tu Wong Fu.
Oh, he did dress like a woman.
That's
Remember,
crazy.
you had Wesley Snipes, you had John Leguizamo, you had Patrick Swayze.
That's right. What's old boy from Joanna Man?
Right.
Oh yeah, Nunez.
Nunez.
Yeah, he just got he just went to jail for stealing. But anyways,
stealing toilet paper.
Don't you drop your head like that when you say stealing toilet paper. But anyways, I digress. Eddie, you were right. I did kind of go off on another tangent in the sense of going with black film, but to pivot. But what my point was is the fact of we went that route is because like we found it to be acceptable there, whereas now society is overly pushing that. I feel, and is taking that into the home. You know what I mean? Where they're like, well, you guys like doing that stuff anyways. You guys do it on TV, so who's to say you're not going to do it at home?
Who's the latest actor to dress? The black actor to wear a dress?
Marlon Wayans, right?
Who?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be Marlon and Shawn Wayans, white girls?
Yeah.
How long ago was that though? I'm like, here's the way I think. When people say stuff like, Hollywood is making it required for black people to do X, Y, Z to pursue this career, and then it hasn't happened in like 10 years, and it's like, all right, well, maybe that's not the case. Hold on, gentlemen. I gotta go help my wife. So.
Yeah, I feel like I commanded a lot of the conversation, but I do want to add one more thing. And this is a very important conversation to have because we have changed as a people, as a species, as men. We have changed, and it is very, very obvious that we are being turned into steers, and less bulls, but more steers, and that's being shown in the home with the absence of fathers. And but the crazy thing I'm starting to read more of is there's not a lot of absentee fathers. There's just a lot of push to show that fathers are absent, that the black fathers are absent, but there are more black fathers involved in their children's lives than is being promoted and propagated. Mm-hmm. And I feel like they are actively trying to show us that we don't have, but I know we are. And I mean, Z, you are living proof. Eddie's living proof. I am living proof.
I don't have no kid.
Yeah, and that's hey. Hey, how many times you been to jail?
Zero.
You, sir, have beaten the stereotype.
Right.
Which is what we're striving to do, beating the stereotype.
You know, and then like even in you, having a kid, you beat that stereotype because you chose this child. You know, I mean, like I beat the stereotype in my own way because I fought to have my child. You know, to keep him with me, to keep him under my care, and take that responsibility. Yeah. You know, so yeah, we are living proof that things are changing. It is, excuse me, it is like if we are evolving as men, as a species, and it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to differentiate between the being emasculated and being evolved. You know, it's hard to find it's hard to find that difference apart from like if you're looking at specifics of like if it's being done directly towards you or if it's, you know, like somebody is coming in and they're like beating you down in the things that you're doing, like, oh, you're way too fucking aggressive, you know, you're you know, the way you handle situations sucks. Like I have a friend who is a very aggressive individual because they like confrontation, but you know, they they take it with stride because they also understand. They're like, yeah, that's just kind of who I am. But he says he wants to take that, apply some, you know, rearranging of how he approaches the situation and how it sounds, while still having his like assertive nature behind it still, you know, his aggressive nature, if you will. I hope that made sense. But yeah,
no,
and
definitely.
So, you know, like he's you know, showing that that there you can evolve. That is proof that there is evolution happening amongst us. I mean, we're always evolving individually as people, you know, just on our own journey, on our own path, and with us having these conversations, kind of bringing different things to light. Yeah, I mean, have you guys ever experienced this kind of like approach of like somebody being like, "Oh, you're not a man, you're not, just because you're not X, Y, or Z"? Not me.
Christian, go ahead.
You hear it like it's not like that you're a man, but okay, that's the route you're taking. That's the route you're taking, or you could be more aggressive. But the funny thing that people always hear is like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think you would respond to that the way you did." It's kind of like you're shocked that you have manners or something like that. It's where the narrative you've seen on TV is not what you see in reality. And therefore, it's always we're breaking a stereotype, whether it's corporate America, whether it's the arenas we're in. And then sometimes I think, honestly, it's just like people are so attached to what they see on TV, they don't want to actually meet someone of that race in reality, because if it doesn't match up, their whole notion of this type of race or this person is based upon a lie. So sometimes I think the human public is just really unafraid of expanding their boundaries and seeing what's real versus what is being fed by them.
True that.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't agree more. It comes back to common sense, though. Like, really, like, and creating forming your own judgment on the situation. And sometimes people's judgment is wrong. Like, I mean, but again, that's like my opinion because I perceive this way as right, but it's something that like most of society would see as like, hey, this is something that you should do. You should extend compassion over aggression in a situation. You should respond rather than react. Just taking those moments of taking a beat, like being a human being and understanding that other people are human beings. Yeah.
Or even let's just take like a simple thing of how like when we respond with yes sir or yes man and with such manners and respect and dignity for others, even though they didn't say that to you, just the fact of being able to say it to others just because, and they look at you like you're weird, like you're different,
right?
And it's very interesting because I've always gotten this thing. People always go, were you in the military?
Are you from the South?
Yep, exactly. Are you in the military? Are you from the South? I'm like, no. Why? Because you're so you say you have so much manners. You say sir, and you're so mannerable. I'm like, they're like, man, your parents did a great job. I'm like, yeah, but this is because I was in martial arts my whole life. But
right.
But yeah, this is just respect, and they're just tripped out about that, And it's like, well, why don't we all just do that? As opposed to waiting for somebody to tell me to do it, I'm just going to lead by example and do it anyways. And it's like, that's how I feel we all should be, and that's how we all can be. Not every black man is the same. Not every black man acts the same.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the pictures right now, look at our 3 different videos. Look at how all 3 of us completely look different.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But we all have like minds.
True.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Different upbringings. I think it's beautiful.
It is. And yeah, I've got man, oh man, do I resonate with getting that like, hey, you're like, where are you from? Because you hear how I sound, but you see the way I look. I mean, to be honest, like if I saw me walking down the street, I'd wonder what I sound like too. I'm like, I kind of want to meet that person just so I can be like, hey, what's up? How's it going? And to have him be like, yeah, bro, what's up? How's it going? And you're like, yeah, man, whatever, with the dreads, or yo, what's up, bro? How's it? Like, what's good? Or,
did you say yeah, man?
Yeah, I went from Rasta to because of the dreads. I went from Rasta to hood to like,
yeah, man.
Yeah, man. What's up, bro? But yeah, it's interesting to get those kinds of reactions. Ooh, that's me with no hair. Where the fuck did you pull that up from?
Different people. Same man, just a different look.
True.
That's a big thing. Like Z has dreads now. I went from braids to a fade. The way people treat you when you have different hairstyles speaks volumes too. Because corporate America do not to have your hair a certain length.
But it's okay.
They say it's okay, but that may lend in not you getting a promotion or the raise that you likely deserve.
Very true.
That's based upon what they've seen in the media. So if I look and see dreads and I only see Lil Wayne and that's my only black interaction, if I see someone that looks similar to him, I'm thinking he's going to talk like him, may possibly be on drugs like him, and then therefore my whole viewpoint of this person is skewed before I can even interview this person unbiased because I have a personal bias. And until America breaks their biasness, we're basically doomed to repeat the cycle. Like right now, Asians are being looked at differently. When 9/11 happened, it was Indians. Black people have always been looked at crazy since slavery. Until this stops, we're basically going to be stereotyping and racially profiling each race.
Right. You know, and slight correction, it was Middle Eastern, but it was anybody who looked like they could have been Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
Anybody, you know, like anyway, like, but that was the thing. Like they lumped anyone who they're doing it now. You know, lumping anybody in that they can. You know, if you're just Asian in general, they'll stereotype you. They'll discriminate against you. They'll keep you even further than an arm's distance and probably hate you. Yeah, but it was back to the hair thing. It was interesting because at a particular theme park that I cannot mention, they in their job applications on it, it says you cannot have particular hairstyles. I didn't have dreads at the time, but when I went to go work there, um, I had short curly hair. My hair was a little bit longer, but in I had to, wash my hair every single day due to like hairspray, hair color, different things that I had to do to it. So there was this point where my hair started to dread, and I was like, "Crap, I might get fired because of this." Like, so we'll pick out my dreads. A handful of dreads, about that big, maybe about that big, took 5 hours to do. Like, it just took forever, and like. I remember being afraid to do that, and then afterwards, I had my hair, and like it started to dread. I was like, "Fuck it! If it does it again, I'm just gonna let it go," and I let it go. And I watched as people treated me differently, as my hair was dreading. So I got to see stages of how people treated me. So they started off thinking I was a dirty hippie, and the conversations I would have with people about like my dreads was really interesting because they're like, "Oh, your dreads must be like." I couldn't do dreads, I wouldn't. I don't want to have to not wash my hair. And it was a person of color telling me this, and I was like, "Hey, what do you mean?" I was like, "Do you understand? Our hair needs oils.
Right.
Like if we don't wash it for a while, my hair's not going to dread. It's going to feel softer. Like this is particularly my hair, but like it's going to feel softer. But in order for our hair to dread, we need to wash it, clean hair dreads, and wash it constantly." And so I'm like, I wash it all the time. And I watched their perception go about just even how they felt with their own self and their own hair. They just like shift in that moment of kind of feeling strange to wanting to try it now.
What's crazy is, think about this. When do most people see black dreads?
On the football field,
On the homeless.
Homeless,
and right. that's why they think your hair is not clean. Is because when they see a black male who has been there and his hair is matted up and is dreaded because he hasn't been able to take care of it the way we would think, that's what they associate that with. Because if you see
sorry.
No, you're good.
Is that urban community thing? Because I travel to some states and I don't see the homeless problem like we have out here, or New York or in Florida. There's some places where there's not that many homeless people. So I'm like, I understand the dreads analysis, but is it something deeper than that, than just homeless too?
Who else do they show looking like that when they talk Jamaicans? Because they always refer to Jamaicans.
Right.
What did I just go to?
Yeah. And what is the demographics of a Jamaican?
Dreads. They have lots of jobs though,
but they're still poor. So if that's the way they look, they don't know the history of the dreads. They don't appreciate or understand the importance and the purpose of the dreads. I mean, you don't even have to have dreads. You could just, like you said, you have braids.
Yep.
Right.
That's commitment.
Right.
And the beautiful thing that somebody pointed out to me that I never understood until recently is when I started hearing them say that our head is our crown, our hair is our crown. We're the only people whose hair grows up towards the heavens. That speaks volumes. our afros, our everything grows up. We have to do things for it to go down. People are afraid of our crown. So if you demonize it, we can and prevent us from monetizing it, we will always be down.
Right.
I wish I had more of a crown to work with anyways, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, brother, doesn't a crown have like a hole on the top of it? Like, and then
well, my crown obviously does, because it's really thick over here. George Jefferson and me are very kin.
Hey, so you have a crown, my brother.
Yeah, literally, with this 5 head to hold it up.
It ain't George Jefferson. Do not play yourself. It is not that.
Brother, look at that fin.
Bloom,
You can see my
That's
a hairline like mine.
Yes. A hairline like mine. Gotta see it from here. Yes, sir.
See, I was wearing a hat earlier.
Hey, see, I had to because my hair looks out of control right now, so that's the reason why I have to do this.
Calm down, Woody.
Hey, I'm just saying, man. Just saying.
Calm down, Woody. I'm sure your hair looks just fine.
Yeah. Hey, we need to find a barbershop. These barbershops need to open sooner or later. People that for a while.
If you see these BDBs, on the back of my neck, brother,
I'm like,
you're killing me. We talked about the appearance or the perception that, you know, we're being castrated and turned from, you know, bulls to steers, as a society, as men, as black men, to how we are perceived just as men in general, you know, in amongst society, and how people stereotype us. We also talked a bit about having some common sense, which is good. Make sure you have some common sense, ladies and gentlemen. How we need to get our power. We need to bring back ourselves, bring back our own sort of power, and how we've evolved as men, how we've evolved as men of color. But yeah, I just wanted to have like something that we can record on. I wanted to try this out. If it's worth it, like, just pay for it, because I want to see if I can extract audio. I can do the video, and I'm going to try and edit it around. And then I'll send you guys a copy of what I've done and see if you guys like it.
Yeah, I'm with it.
cool.
To you, gentlemen, I raise my drink.
Hey, and before we go, I just want to say a big shout out and love and RIP to the great Don Campbell, who his soul rest in peace.
R.I.P. Don Campbell.
I miss you, Pop.
Peace.
All right,
Until next time. Have a drink.
Have a drink.
Don't mind if I do.
Ooh,
Peace.
delicious. Peace.